My name is Clara, and on most days, my life is unremarkably steady. At 36, I've grown used to the rhythm of routine. The morning coffee David sets on my nightstand before leaving for work. The soft hum of our suburban neighborhood as I tidy the house. The comfortable dinners we share in the evenings. David, my husband of nearly 10 years, is everything dependable. He is thoughtful, kind, and unfailingly loyal. People often say we're the kind of couple who make marriage look easy. But ease can sometimes disguise restlessness. Before David, there was Ethan. He wasn't dependable. He was unpredictable, intoxicating, and at times destructive. He was my first love, the kind that carves deep grooves into your memory no matter how much you try to smooth them over. Ethan made every moment feel heightened, urgent, alive, and yet that same intensity was what unraveled us. After 4 turbulent years of love and heartbreak, I walked away, telling myself it was the only way to preserve my sanity. Meeting David soon after felt like stepping out of a storm into calm shelter. He didn't ignite chaos in me. He offered safety. He gave me the kind of love that wasn't a fire consuming everything in its path, but a steady flame that promised to keep me warm for years. With him, I built a home, a future, a version of myself that felt solid and grounded. Still, sometimes. In quiet moments when David's steady breathing lulled me to sleep, memories of Ethan surfaced uninvited. I brushed them aside, convinced they were harmless echoes of youth, until the evening he appeared at my door. It was an ordinary Thursday, the kind where I'd planned to cook pasta and maybe watch a film before bed. David had just left for a weekend business trip, his goodbye kiss still lingering faintly on my lips. The house was silent, except for the bubbling pot on the stove. When the doorbell rang, I thought it must be a neighbor or perhaps a delivery. Instead, when I opened the door, the past stared back at me. Ethan. He looked older, sharper around the edges, but unmistakably him. His gray eyes, the same ones that once made me believe I could forgive anything, met mine with a quiet intensity. For a moment, the years between us dissolved, and I was no longer Clara, the wife, the homemaker, the dependable partner. I was Clara at 20, trembling under the weight of love that burned too brightly. "Hi," he said, voice low, hesitant. "It's been a long time." I should have closed the door, should have told him he had no place here. Instead, I stepped aside. As Ethan crossed the threshold, a subtle shift occurred inside me. The air felt charged, dangerous, and I knew, before a word more was spoken, that this visit would test everything I thought I knew about loyalty, love, and myself. I led Ethan into the living room, my hands trembling despite my effort to appear composed. The quiet hum of the house felt louder now, every tick of the clock underscoring the strangeness of this reunion. He moved with the same restless energy I remembered, scanning the photographs on the mantel as though cataloging the life I had built without him. "You've made this place your own," he said finally, his tone warm but edged with something else, regret. "Maybe, or envy. Yes," I replied, forcing steadiness into my voice. "David and I have been here almost 7 years now." I shouldn't have mentioned David's name, but it slipped out like a shield, a reminder of the boundaries Ethan's presence threatened to blur. He nodded slowly, eyes lingering on the framed wedding photo. "He looks like he makes you happy." The statement wasn't a question, yet it felt like one. And though the truthful answer was yes, happiness is never that simple. David brought security, gentleness, a partnership I could rely on. But Ethan had always awakened the part of me that craved risk, intensity, something just beyond reason. I poured us each a glass of wine, habit, politeness, avoidance, and the gesture itself felt dangerous. When our fingers brushed as I handed him his glass, the years between us collapsed like a house of cards. "Why are you here, Ethan?" I asked, my voice sharper than intended, his gaze locked on mine. "Because I couldn't stay away any longer. I thought I buried us, Clara, but I haven't. Seeing you now, it's like I've been sleepwalking all these years and just woke up." My chest tightened. This was exactly what I feared. Words designed to unearth feelings I had spent a decade burying. I wanted to remind him of the pain, the chaos, the reasons I left, yet my silence betrayed me. "You've changed," he continued, his eyes scanning me as though rediscovering who I'd become. But there's something in you that's still the same. The way you hold yourself. The way you look at me. Don't tell me you don't feel it too. His words struck a fault line inside me. I did feel it. That electric pull, that reckless hunger I thought had dulled with time. And it terrified me. Ethan, I said softly, you can't just walk back into my life and expect nothing to have changed. I'm not that girl anymore. He leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. Maybe not, but I'm still the man who knows what that girl wanted, and I see her now, behind the calm, behind the tidy life. Tell me I'm wrong. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came. The silence between us swelled, charged and dangerous, saying everything words could not. In that moment I understood. His return wasn't a passing visit. It was a reckoning, and whether I wanted it or not, I was already caught in its gravity. The air between us grew dense, as though even the walls of the room leaned in to listen. I wanted to retreat, to reclaim the certainty I once felt in David's arms. Yet Ethan's presence tethered me to a version of myself I thought had long vanished. He broke the silence first. I shouldn't have come here without calling, but I knew if I gave you a warning, you'd find a reason to say no. His voice was calm, but beneath it pulsed a quiet desperation. You're right, I admitted, surprising myself with the honesty of it. I would have said no. He smiled faintly, not with triumph, but with recognition. Because you know what this means. Because you feel it too. I turned away, staring at the framed photo of David and me on the mantel. His smile in that picture was wide, unguarded, the kind of happiness that comes from trust. And trust, I knew, was fragile. One choice, this choice, could shatter it beyond repair. Ethan, I whispered, forcing my eyes to remain on David's image. You're asking me to betray everything I've built. No, Ethan said firmly, stepping closer. I'm asking you to remember who you are when you're not hiding behind safety. You once told me you were terrified of living a small life, of waking up one day and realizing passion had slipped through your fingers. Has that fear really gone away? His words struck like a blade. I had said that once, late at night on a creaky dorm bed, my voice thick with dreams. At the time, it felt like a vow to live boldly, to demand more from life than comfort. Somewhere along the way, though, I traded those vows for stability. I faced him again, my pulse quickening. And what did that boldness get us? Years of chaos. Nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if you'd even show up. Do you think I've forgotten? His jaw tightened, regret flashing across his features. I was reckless, yes, but I've changed. I'm not asking you to erase the past. I'm asking for one chance to show you it could be different now. The room seemed smaller, as if his confession had closed every possible escape. I felt torn between two lives, one rooted in security, the other pulsing with dangerous possibility. You shouldn't have come, I said finally, though the conviction in my voice wavered. He studied me, his gray eyes softening. Maybe, but I had to, because I'd rather risk rejection than wonder forever if we still had something worth fighting for. I pressed a hand against the back of the sofa to steady myself. I wanted to tell him to leave, to end this before it consumed me. Instead, I stood frozen, my silence an answer in itself. And in that silence, I knew. The decision I made next would define everything that followed. I don't remember moving closer to him, only that the space between us dissolved. One moment I was rooted to the carpet, clutching the sofa like a lifeline. And the next, I was close enough to see the faint scar on Ethan's jaw I used to trace with my fingertip. His nearness unsettled me, not just because of what it meant for my marriage, but because of what it stirred inside me, the undeniable truth that part of me had never stopped wanting him. Clara, he murmured, my name falling from his lips with a weight that made my chest tighten. Tell me you don't feel it. I should have lied. I should have said I didn't. But lies never came easily to me. My silence was its own confession. His hand brushed mine, tentative, like he was asking permission. The touch sent a rush through me, a reminder of how alive I once felt in his arms. I thought of David then, steady David, and the life we had pieced together with patience and trust. but the thought did nothing to weaken the pull I felt toward Ethan. And then his lips found mine. The kiss was both familiar and startling, like stepping into a memory I didn't know I still carried. My heart thundered, my body betrayed me, and in that reckless moment, the years of distance between us collapsed. I was no longer a wife in a quiet suburban home. I was the girl who once believed passion could outlast reason, but passion always carries a cost. When we finally pulled apart, the room was silent, but for the sound of my uneven breathing. Ethan's eyes searched mine, desperate for an answer I wasn't sure I could give. "I never stopped loving you," he said, his voice raw. "All these years, through everything, I never let you go." The words pierced me, not because they surprised me, but because I knew they were true. And the truth terrified me. "I can't do this," I whispered, though even as I spoke, my lips still tingled from his kiss. "I have a life now, Ethan. A husband who trusts me, who doesn't deserve this." His jaw tightened, pain flashing across his features. "And what about what you deserve? What about what you've buried all these years?" Tears welled in my eyes, blurring the edges of his face. "That's the problem," I said. "I don't know anymore." The admission felt like tearing open a wound I had hidden for too long. For years I had told myself I was content, safe, whole, and yet, in Ethan's presence, I saw the cracks. Small fractures in a life that had seemed unshakable until now. He reached for me again, but I stepped back, shaking my head. The conflict inside me was unbearable. Loyalty warring with longing, safety colliding with desire. And in that moment, I realized the true betrayal wasn't choosing Ethan or David. It was denying the parts of myself I had never truly resolved. When the door finally closed behind Ethan, the silence in the house felt deafening. I leaned against the frame, my hands trembling, my breath shallow. The taste of his kiss still lingered, yet guilt wrapped itself around me like a tightening rope. I had crossed a line I could never uncross, and though no one else knew, the knowledge lived inside me like a shadow. I wandered into the living room, my eyes landing on the wedding photo again. David's smile seemed different now, not lighter or dimmer, but fragile, as if it carried a weight I hadn't seen before. He trusted me. He believed in the life we built. And tonight, I had betrayed that trust, even if he would never discover it. Sinking into the sofa, I tried to untangle the mess inside me. Part of me still burned with the passion Ethan had reignited, but another part, the steadier part, ached for the quiet certainty David provided. Loving one didn't erase the love I felt for the other. That was the cruelest truth. I wasn't torn between a lie and a truth, but between two truths that refused to coexist. The days that followed were an exercise in pretending. I laughed with David over the phone, asked about his meetings, and listened to his plans for when he returned. My voice was steady, but inside I was crumbling. I wanted to confess, to lay bare everything, but I also knew confession would destroy him, and maybe, in some twisted way, keeping the secret was the only act of loyalty I had left. Rachel was the only one I trusted enough to tell. When I confessed, she stared at me for a long time, then said quietly, "You've been living two lives in your head, Clara. One with David, one with Ethan. You can't keep both. You need to decide who you are, not who they make you." Her words lingered long after she left. Decide who I am. It struck me then that my mistake wasn't just the kiss. It was allowing myself to define my identity only through the men I loved. With David, I was safe. With Ethan, I was alive. But who was I when I was alone? That night, I sat by the window long after David had gone to bed. The stars hung silently above, indifferent to my turmoil. I realized there wouldn't be a neat resolution, no tidy answer that could erase what happened. Instead, there would only be choices, small ones, daily ones, that would reveal whether I honored the vows I had made or chased the hunger that still smoldered inside me. For now, I chose to stay. To hold David's hand at breakfast, to kiss him goodnight, to fight for the life we had built. But the shadow of Ethan's return lingered, reminding me of the parts of myself I still hadn't reconciled. And perhaps that is the hardest truth of all. Sometimes, The greatest conflict isn't between two people, but between the person you are and the person you fear you might still become.